Do you know what your FICO SPSS score is and how it's being used to make lending decisions about you? Well, I'm about to show you exactly what FICO's small business score is and how you can control it to be able to get the best funding. We're going to talk about how the FICO SPSS score is actually calculated and the factors that you can control to make sure you have an exceptional score. We're going to talk about the lending sources that are using FICO SPSS, including SBA, and why it's essential that you know and control the score to be able to get the max funding. We're going to talk about the range of the FICO SPSS score and what you need to do to get on the highest range that makes you acceptable for SBA loans and many other kind of financing. Along the way, I'm going to give you my best tips and tactics to get the best SPSS score. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to get you access to free credit monitoring. That's free credit monitoring with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. We've got a lot to cover, so let's dive in. What exactly is your FICO SPSS score? Well, your SPSS score is a business credit score issued by FICO. You know FICO, the same one very popular in the consumer credit scoring world, now issues the SPSS score for small businesses. Now, big differences between consumer and commercial credit scoring with FICO. First of all, in the consumer world, you're typically used to getting a TransUnion, Equifax, Experian credit report, but you also see FICO credit scores on those credit reports. Now, TransUnion, Equifax, Experian wanted to compete with FICO, so they rolled out a Vantage score, which is more commonly used than it was about a decade or so ago when it came out. But FICO is still the dominant player when it comes to lenders and credit issuers using their credit scores to make all kinds of consumer credit decisions. Now, in the commercial world, it's very different. Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian are the three biggest business credit reporting agencies, and they all have their own credit scores. Their credit scores don't come from FICO. So when you get a D&B, Equifax, or Experian business credit report, you'll oftentimes see 1, 2, even as much as 5 credit scores on those reports, and those scores are calculated, those algorithms are created by the credit bureaus themselves. So in the consumer world, the credit bureaus typically issue credit reports, and the FICO is the main player for credit scores. But in the commercial world, the credit bureaus are issuing the reports and the most commonly used credit scores. So SPSS stands for Small Business Scoring Service. And this SPSS score was created by FICO because organizations like SBA wanted an even more accurate way of gauging risk for potential borrowers. See, the business credit reporting agencies have about a handful of scores each. We talked about that. And each score is used for a specific purpose. So for example, Dun & Bradstreet has a Paydex score that only takes into account accounts that have been reported to D&B and how those have actually been paid on average. So for example, if you pay all your bills on average on time, you get an 80 Paydex score. Now, if you pay them 30 days late, then you get a 70 score and so on. Now, they have other scores as well, such as a financial stability score that takes into account payment experiences and also takes into account other factors, such as your financial information to depict how likely you are to cease operations, close your doors in the next 12 months. So their scores from the credit bureaus have very specific purposes, but FICO actually does something that no other score does. First of all, it's completely calculated based on how the actual lender or the source that's using it wants it to be calculated. We'll talk more about that in a minute. And it also brings in a lot of different credit reports and different credit scores into one to give the best depiction of risk to a lender or credit issuer. So the FICO SPSS score is customizable. And by this, I mean that each lending source can calculate the score however they'd like. So for example, Wells Fargo and Bank of America are going to have different FICO SPS scores because they're the ones that determine what kind of weight certain things have into that SPSS score. It's exactly why you really can't obtain your own FICO SPSS score from anywhere, because no matter where you obtain it, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, it's all going to be different. So let me explain deeper how this works. So for example, FICO SPSS takes into account consumer and commercial credit reports. So let's say on the consumer side, you have TransUnion, Equifax, Experian. And on the business side, you have Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian. Well, let's say that Wells Fargo wants to weigh your commercial credit scores higher into the calculation of SPSS than consumer. And they want Dun & Bradstreet to be first, Experian to be second, Equifax to be third. Then in this case, their SPSS score will be calculated by taking into account Dun & Bradstreet data first, then Experian commercial data, then Equifax, then going to consumer credit report data in whatever order and weight they like. So they can actually determine what of these credit reports and scores calculates more into your SBS score than another. And another lender can determine in another way. Now, primarily, the way I laid it out is how a lot of lenders choose to do it. They put commercial credit scores over consumer, which means they take into account your Dun & Bradstreet, your Equifax, Experian. They bring that into FICO SPSS and give it more weight into the overall score than consumer credit. So it's very important that you establish your business credit. By establishing good, deep, well-established business credit reports and scores, that's going to give you the best chance of getting a high FICO SBS score. Now, speaking of SPSS scores being high, they actually range from 0 to 300, with 300 being the best. And to qualify for loans like SBA, you need to have a 140 to a 160 score, depending on what type of SBA loan program you're actually looking to apply for. So now that you know a little bit about FICO SPSS, the question becomes, how important is this score really? Well, the answer is very important. Look, a lot of banks are relying on FICO SPSS to make all kinds of lending decisions about you. Some of them include US Bank, KeyBank, Huntington National Bank, even Santander Bank. And as we mentioned, you have to have an acceptable FICO SPSS score to even get an SBA loan. So what this means is it means if you want long-term financing with low interest rates and really low affordable payments, you've got to focus on improving your FICO SPSS score. So how do you improve your FICO SPSS score? Well, keep in mind that with SPSS, it takes into account consumer and commercial credit. So the better those two types of credit are, the better your FICO SPSS score is going to be. As a matter of fact, you can't even have an SPSS score high enough to get an SBA loan if you have no established business credit. Let me repeat that. You cannot have a score high enough to get an SBA loan if you have no established business credit. So you've got to establish business credit with all three. Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, Experian. The more you establish those credit profiles, the better your credit scores are, the higher your FICO SPSS scores. Also, you want to focus on improving your consumer credit. The better your consumer credit is with TransUnion, Equifax, Experian, the more that's going to help your SPSS score as well. But keep in mind, the primary driver with most lenders is your business credit score. So focus on getting those established. Focus on paying your business bills on time. That's going to go a long way to helping you have a good SPSS score. Now, other factors tie into your score as well. How long you've been in business, how many employees you have, the type of revenues and profits you're generating, even public records such as collections, judgments, lawsuits, all can work against you in your FICO SPSS score. So keep those things in mind as you're working on establishing a solid score that can help you get more money. And there you have it. That's all the important details of FICO SPSS. You know what it is, you know how it works, you know how it compares to consumer credit scores, and most importantly, you know what you need to do to improve it to make sure you have a great score to help you get the most money at the best terms. We'll help you get your business credit reports for free with Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax, and Experian. Even go over those reports with you and give you tips and tactics to improve your business credit. We'll also do a funding qualification, tell you all the funding you can qualify for right now. All that happens at no cost on a free consultation. Give us a call at 877-600-2487. That's 877-600-2487. You can also email for your consultation, info@creditsuite.com. That's info@creditsuite.com, or schedule your consultation online at creditsuite.com/consult. That's creditsuite.com/consult. If you want more information on building your business credit, make sure you visit our link, creditsuite.com/EIN. That's creditsuite.com/EIN to get our free guide that gives you the exact steps to build business credit without a personal guarantee and without a personal credit check. And if you got value from this training, make sure you like and subscribe and keep your eye out for more training where we talk about more cool ways to get money to start and grow your business.